Hello, and welcome to the Bianca Williams podcast. I'm your host, Bianca, and this is the podcast where we're sharing self-growth tips. We also have guests sharing their wisdom, their stories, just amazing information. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I also would love to hear your feedback about, just what you liked about this show, your takeaways, anything like that. And don't forget to check out other episodes. Today, I'm really excited because I got my girl from way back, Crystal Fortney. Like a lot of you guys know, I am in California, and Crystal is one of my Tennessee day oneers. I love her so much. She is doing so many amazing things. She has her own business. She is like stumping the ground, doing things in the community in different parts of the state. And she just, she's a heavy hitter. She's also doing state work. And so I just couldn't say enough about her, how amazing she is, how much she's just doing, how much change she's making in the world. And we definitely need change these days. So I want to just stop and let Crystal tell you a little bit about what's going on with her and some of the things that's coming up with her just endeavors. Welcome, Crystal.
Hey, Bianca. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm so glad to be on your podcast. And for those of you who are watching, thank you for having me here. Thank you for watching this episode. Like Bianca said, my name is Crystal Fortney, and we're just going to go by Crystal here. Me and Bianca met a while ago in Nashville. We both worked at Vanderbilt, and we're kind of trying to figure out what we were doing at the same time. And we have just stayed connected since then. Like she said, I have my hands in so many pots that sometimes I forget the pots that I have my hands in. So she is right. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm also a licensed professional counselor. I am almost near the end, so I'm a doctoral candidate for my PhD in counselor education and supervision. If I can, recruit some more people, we'll get out of here. And then I practice counseling just a little bit, probably 5% of my time. I own a private practice in 2 different cities. So we have a location in Nashville and we have a location in Memphis. They're focused on 2 different things. In Nashville, it's just general counseling services. But in Memphis, we focus a lot on our community, building our community. So we have our hands on in different partnerships down there. I also, kind of like Bianca said, I work for state government. So I'm very involved in youth and young adult mental health, advocacy around that, programming around that, all of those things to kind of change the infrastructure of our system to make it better for youth and young adults. So just a lot of things, but I'm super happy to be here to talk about like growth and like how am I able to achieve those things? Because everything we talk about today will kind of be things that were involved in me becoming who I am. So thank you for being here. And I'm ready to answer questions.
So, Crystal, first, I just want to say I can't, that what we're going to talk about matches the time we're in, because we're like kind of going to be talking about going with the flow and just letting life move and not feeling like you got to force anything. And I just think that's such an important topic right now. There's just so much going on in the world. And so I'm pretty excited to hear your wisdom on this, to share this with the world, because I just feel like a lot of people just kind of are getting surprises every day. And then like, what can I do? And there's just a peace and kind of following the harmony of life. And so I just want to start with, if you could share a pivotal moment in your life when you realized the importance of accepting life's natural rhythms.
I think it's probably the biggest pivotal point for me was like one of the hardest points for me, actually. It was, I'm originally from Memphis, and I originally moved from Memphis to Nashville to work at Vanderbilt. And so just transitioning from moving away from my family and friends, and I had moved away from them before, but moving away from my family and friends for a career was a pivotal moment. But at the same time that I moved, my best friend ended up dying unexpectedly. And so it was like I was adjusting to moving to a new city. I was adjusting to starting a new job at, a place where it's Vanderbilt, so it's very prestigious. The culture was pretty different. I'm from Memphis. That was Vanderbilt. So, you kind of get that. So, adjusting to being at a new job, adjusting to moving to a new city, and now, like, going through this grief process was, like, really, really hard to navigate all of those changes at the same time. And it was interesting because the move to Nashville was like, oh yeah, I'm about to move to Nashville, further my career, about to focus, hit the ground running. And I didn't run nowhere. Okay. I didn't run nowhere because I was there, I was existing, I was functioning, but there was no parts of me that was running because I was also navigating grief. And so while I wanted to like be the best version of myself and like put up the best work and do all of these things that would like push my career further, I was just trying to exist, to be honest. I was just trying to like get through grief and navigate what that new normal looks like for me. And it was at that point where I realized that I really didn't control anything and that I actually had to go with the flow of my life. And while I thought this was going to be a point where I was like really hustling to be this version of myself in my career, actually God had other plans for me to slow down and figure out myself and navigate this space in a very slow space. So that was the moment where I realized that I can plan all I want to, but like I can't control the factors of life. And that if I fought the factors of life, it could be more devastating than it was to actually sit where I was. And I was in grief. And if I tried to push and be this superwoman, I was just going to break because I didn't have anything left in me to actually be that. So I had no other choice but to sit with grief and go through that process. And I feel like that was the first time I realized like, hey, you can't really make anything happen and you have to adjust to what's actually happening and take care of yourself in that space. So I would say that's the first time that was a pivotal moment that I realized like, oh yeah, no, I can't force this.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I actually remember that. I completely that time was such a blur because it was so much happening so fast. And I remember when you had that loss going on, it was around the time I lost my sister too. And so there was just a lot of like grief. I didn't know that you felt it affected you so much. So thank you for sharing that and just how I feel like you're very ambitious, you're very motivated. And so you like, it's not hard for you to see the path in front of you and what you want and where you want to go. And having something kind of like ground you in the moment to say like, no, you're not going to be able to move forward without addressing this or processing this in some way. And grief is like so sneaky. It's not something you can predict or say, well, it's going to happen like this. Like to your point, it's something you have to just accept and take it one day at a time. And so always sorry for your loss and glad that you did get through that time.
For sure.
You mentioned something very important because sometimes we are so caught up in the day-to-day that we take advantage or we don't take advantage of the small moments or we take them for granted. That's what I want to say. We take them for granted. So for you, what does living in harmony with the ebbs and flows of life, right? Those ups and downs mean to you?
It means, so I'll tell you what I tell my clients. And I also, I don't know where I heard this from, but it makes so much sense. So I remember, I don't know what I was watching it on. So if that person ever watched this, I'm giving you credit. I just don't know who you are. So it's not my words, it's somebody else's words. But I remember listening to this person talk and they were like, when we were younger, we would get this nursery rhyme song to us, like row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. And like we would take it, it's just a nursery rhyme. It doesn't mean anything. But like, if you really think about it, it means a lot. Because it was telling you to row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Because realistically, if you go the other way, you're fighting the current that you're actually flowing to. So rowing it gently down the stream, the way the stream is actually flowing, is easier than resisting it and trying to go the other way. And I think that I keep that in mind when I think about my life, when things are happening. And I have like decided to go with the flow of my life. So if my flow is naturally moving in this way, even if that's the way that I don't want to move, I lean into that because that's obviously the way like my river is flowing. So why would I try to go in the opposite direction that is going? And I have tried to go in the opposite direction many times. And it's very difficult because it will seem like nothing is working out for you. People are not reaching out to you, whatever you're trying to go for. It's just not happening. I was talking about this yesterday, actually, with my own like self-journaling. I have been trying to figure out a way to pivot into university work, and just working like university leadership and all of that because I enjoy systemic work and stuff like that. And that just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. Like girl, yes, people be teaching with less experience, and it never pans out for me. And it's not that I don't think that like I couldn't eventually get a space there, but it was me coming to this realization with God of like, this doesn't mean that you won't ever be there. It just means that where you are now is where I want you to be. So I need you to roll into the flow of this. And so deciding to just roll into where I'm at because I'm there for a reason is easier than resisting and trying to be in a space that may not be the space I need to be in right now. Like I may not be as impactful in that space, or that space may not be ready for me right now, or it may come with all these difficulties that I don't know about that God is kind of like protecting me from. So that's another thing too that I keep in mind is that like sometimes we fight for stuff that God is like, I ain't ready for you yet, like because you're not ready to deal with what's up with it. So just flow this way because that's where I have you. So those are the things I do to like remind myself to just like go with the flow and not fight it because there's things happening that I don't know about. So
I love that. You said what you're saying is so powerful because it is really more of a spiritual journey of acceptance and faith than anything, because like sometimes it's like you see other people do it, you see what you want and you're like, oh, I can just do it, which I'm all for, like do what you want, dream big, go for it, all of that. But you're right, God's timing is different, and we are actually gonna get into that question, so I'm not gonna go all the way down that rabbit hole yet. But I remember, it resonated with me how you explained that, because I remember back when, we had been friends for a couple of years, and I was in this place where I was going in 2 different directions at the same time, and I was talking to you, and I was like, can you give me some advice in this direction? Give me some advice in this direction. And one worked out really well for me, and the other one just didn't. And then, like, some months later, I found out I was moving to California. And so it was kind of like, like I knew you was moving to California and couldn't be here and there at the same time. But I didn't know at the time, right? I just was like, why is this happening? It was a lot of stuff going on around it that wasn't, ideal. But I agree with you. I think that sometimes when we are pushing so hard for something and we're actually making movement and traction with it, God will be like, oh, let me just stop you right there.
really,
To be at, like, period. It's I totally agree with you and love how you framed it with like more of that spirituality or faith, because it is a journey. You don't know. It's a trust the process thing to know that God always knows what is best for you and is going to let you in the right space. Yeah. And so, and I know that's hard because, again, you ambitious. You know what you want. How do you balance that ambition and drive with, just needing to honor life's natural timing?
That's not always been easy for me. Let's just say that actually, I highlighted that question because I know that has not always been easy for me. One in real life is I'm ADHD. So, with me being ADHD, a lot of my drive just comes from this like hyper focus. Like I have an ability to say, I want that, and I'm gonna go get that. I don't care how long it takes. I'll play the long game. I could get like derailed, and I'm gonna say, okay, well, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, so I'm gonna do it, So I'll play that long game and I'll do it because I could get hyper focused on something and like go for it until I get it. But I have struggled with a little bit of like my ambition and hyper focus and the harmony of wanting to build a family. So that has been my thing, and I have fought God a lot on that, okay? I've been like, well, I gotta be the ambitious one. I want a baby. And he's like, nah, not right now. I have a husband and like build his business. He's like, nah, not right now. And so for me, that has been a struggle to like, people can see this ambition part of it, right? But they don't also see the sacrifice or the cost that comes behind that. It's like, I don't have a husband and I don't have kids. And I'm not that young. Now, is that coming? Yes, that's coming. We have faith that's coming. But along that journey of accepting that, like, this right now is my path and this is not my path. And while there are women who can do both, I just unfortunately wasn't one of those women who could do both. Like, sometimes I don't know what I'm going to eat, yet alone what a kid is going to eat while I'm trying to, like, do state work, jump off state work, do homework, lead it, go do a client, also answering stuff as a CEO. Like, there is no way possible that my tunnel vision, hyper-focusedness in the way that I operate will be able to successfully show up for my family in the way that I want to show up for my family. So that has been something that I had to work on, just balancing and going back to that word of accepting of like, God has a bigger plan for me. And that like, I'm always going to be ambitious, but the levels of ambitiousness is going to change as I grow into this other side of having a family, husband, and all of those things. So really accepting that sometimes God's plan for you is not the plan that you thought you had for yourself. Being okay with feeling distressed about that, but also accepting it, because the more I fought it and was like, well, I'm going to date this dude and I'm going to get married, and it don't work.
Yeah.
You be like, all right, it costs more for me to keep trying to make this happen when you told me it ain't time to make it happen than to just do what I'm doing. And then when that happens for me, it does. So I think getting bruised up enough, I mean, honestly, getting bruised up enough and trying to do it my way made me sit down and accept the harmony of like, this is just where I'm at. And let me lean into that and make the best of it while I'm here. So yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's amazing. I absolutely think you're going to get, what you want. It's a timing thing, and it's always like, I don't know, it's bittersweet, because it's just like, I feel like the world we living in, social media, all of these things like kind of push us towards wanting stuff that may or may not be aligned with our timing. And, you also get these pressures from society, family, things like that to say you should be here at this time in your life, or when is this going to happen? And so then you like, I want it too, but also it's defeating, because it's like, can you just, honor and highlight where I am in my life right now, because that's not like, I can't control that completely. Your point.
And
And
I also think too, to add to that statement is like, yeah, there is a pressure from society. We just got to talking about that. I'm from Mississippi. There is definitely a pressure. I could tell somebody that, oh yeah, I just wrote the latest book that's like a New York bestseller, and they'll be like, but where's your husband though? And I'm like, you just skipped over to the go to him. Yeah, when he get here, I'll tell you. But he's not here right now.
yes,
So like dealing with that pressure of like that cultural pressure of like, is it time? I've never had to experience that from my mom. I'm gonna tell you, like, my mom is my biggest cheerleader. Yeah, shout out to you, girl. You know who you are. But anyway, she's my biggest cheerleader. So I can tell my mama right now, like, I want to strap some boots on and go to the moon. And my mama will be like, okay, but where do I need to get the boots from? Like, she that type of mama. I just started a YouTube channel, right? And I ain't got but like 20 subscribers, so subscribe after this. But I just started a YouTube channel, and I like told my mom about it, right? Girl, she's like, I don't let up all the laptops and devices so I can get your views up. And I've been like, share your profile. So my mama be like, let's go.
She's a cheerleader.
Yes. And she's never been like, oh, I'm ready for a grandkid, so you need to make that happen, or you need a husband. Like, she's never been like that. She's been like, do what works for you. And if this is where you are because you know your life is meant for more, then follow that. And that person will come and you will be with them forever. Trust. It's like, you will be with them forever. And when you have them kids, they ain't going nowhere. They're going to be there every day, 24 hours.
Sure.
So when your time comes, it comes. So I would say also in the time and accepting the harmony when there are moments of discouragement because of cultural pressure, having a support system to just like remind who you are is so important. Of like, girl, but yeah, like, do you see what you're doing? Yeah, like that stuff is going to come. But like, do you see what you're doing? Yeah, okay, yeah, that's going to come. But like, honor where you are right now, and be proud of yourself, because sometimes looking at those things that you don't have will make you feel like you are a failure, or you're not as proud of yourself as you should be, because your life doesn't look like other people's lives at this season of life. So, lean on your support system when you forget who you are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so important. She just dropped the gem, y'all. I hope y'all are taking notes, because that support system thing is so real. You kind of hit on, sometimes your local values don't like match just your purpose, where God has taken you, your ambition. Sometimes your local values are saying, well, we actually care about this over that. And it feels discouraging, because you're like, I work so hard and I just, I'm doing good things. And I just want people to, be supportive, because I don't know about you, but I support everybody and what they doing, especially, like when I know what their backstory is. I'm like, it's amazing to see people win. And so when you are in different places in your life, it's really powerful to have, like, even if it's just one person supporting you and encouraging you and letting you know, like, you're on the right path. Because, we always have those internal doubts that's saying, you need to be doing more, but you still ain't doing that. And then we got to remind ourselves, like, but we doing this, and we're meant to be here. And so I love that you referenced that support piece, because that's so huge. I feel like that holds so many people back from just fully embracing their purpose and their joy. You are not going to align with somebody else completely, and that's okay. It's supposed to be that. The differences in us is what, kind of adds the colors to the world. It makes us bring all these different strengths. And so you are right where you're supposed to be at. And because of that, you're doing amazing things and changing lives, even if you can't even see it.
Yeah.
And shout out to your mama, because she's like, a true,
girl. Now, I think kids get ready for grandkids. Y'all should be playing with other people's kids. So I'm working on it, okay? I'm going to give her something, but she ain't asked yet. But, I think she ready, though.
Yeah. And when it comes, you're going to be like, you know what?
That's going to be her baby.
Right. To get your grandkids. And you mentioned something about like wanting something so bad. You were kind of like, I'm just going to go for it anyway. Can you discuss kind of that importance of surrendering to life seasons instead of resisting them? Because I know that's definitely me a little bit at times where I'm like, I just want that.
Because, girl, if you don't surrender, this one ain't even that deep and long. If you don't surrender, life gonna make you surrender. It's not even that long. I mean, that's reality. You gonna keep bumping your head and you gonna keep hurting yourself. So it's like, really, is you gonna keep hurting yourself, or you just gonna do what it's telling you not to do?
Yeah.
And really what it is, like, how many times have we been in situations where you're like, I want this to work, I want this way. And not to keep making this about my mama, y'all, but I'm gonna tell y'all a story that like aligns with this so perfect. So my mama is, again, that's my girl. She's everybody invites. Like, people call her mama at work and stuff. Like, they be taking, like, seriously. And anyway, so ever since I was younger, she would always tell me, because, again, this is spiritual. If you're not spiritual, I'm sorry. That's my whole being.
Oh, you cannot be sorry for that.
My mom is very spiritual. And so she would always tell me since I was like, girl, I'm like 17, that I was not going to get married and have kids until I was finished setting up my whole entire career. And that was 18. I'm 36. Okay. Yeah. So at 18, she was like, girl, you're not going to be the married early girl. I'm sorry to tell you that. Not, speaking it on you negatively, but God already showed me your life, and that's not it. So, yeah, like, that's not happening for you. Now, 18, I'm like, girl, please. I'm going to find my one at 26. We're going to blow. Girl, I have tried to make so many people my man. That's the truth. I done tried to make so many. This he is not. You know what I'm saying? So now, earlier on in my life was like really to prove her wrong. Like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. I can do it. And just ended up with so many unnecessary heartbreaks. You know what I'm saying? Ended up like breaking other people's heart, right? Because I was talking as if that was gonna be the people, and they wasn't, or I didn't really want it. So it was interesting of like how if you don't just flow with your life, you can hurt other people. We talk about us experiencing hurt, but you can also hurt other people when you don't recognize that what you want is not in that season. So now you may meet somebody who want what you think you want or you're ready for, and then end up hurting them because you're not clear about where you're going or what season you're in. So yeah, we talked about hurting ourselves, but you end up hurting too many other people along the path. So for me, it was just like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of hurting other people, but I'm also tired of experiencing pain myself when it comes to trying to make this thing happen for myself. And I'm awake, So yeah, that's what caused me to like basically surrender, is like hurting other people or hurting myself.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You referenced a couple of things that really stood out to me, and I totally believe in and understand too. And one of them was being ready for what you're asking for. Like sometimes we say we want these things, but it's such a conflict to a deeper value of ours that even though we're saying that, we kind of not who we need to be to like receive that. And so sometimes God won't open that door all the way. He might even crack it a little bit, like so you can see in there, but he won't open that door all the way. And we like standing at the door, knocking over and over again. And he's just like, no, not yet. Go back, season up some more and then come back. And then you mentioned like the impact of growth and going into different seasons of your life. Like sometimes when you're like forcing things or resisting things that's in your path, how you can cycle through kind of like making these mistakes or bumping your head, as you said, getting that like smack on the wrist by spiritually, right? one thing, and you definitely probably can relate. We see this all the time when people don't when they don't take the opportunity to learn what they need to learn about themselves, about life. It's hard for them to really move forward. It's like they get stuck in this rut and they just kind of like going through the motions. But it's really like the thing that you are trying to get away from, you're the only one blocking you, right? Like you just kind of like embraced what path you're already meant to be on and make that change or adjust that thing. Like sometimes we're holding on to stuff that is not good for us. Sometimes we are, we keep letting go of stuff that we need to really, tap into. Sometimes we talking ourselves out of stuff that we actually know we care about and that's meant for us, but we just kind of like go into a different path. And so I find that it's hard for you to grow when you that resistant, because it's like God just gonna keep putting you back in that path. He might change the people, he might change the situation, he might even change the scenery, but he gonna keep putting you back in that same path until you get what you need to get. And then sometimes that door unlocks and it's like, okay,
this is what it was. This is what I had to do. Yeah.
Right. And so that's I mean, I kind of look at that as a growth thing. And you're so right. Like when sometimes we're like kind of, because one thing about it's funny, we reference God so much in this episode, but one thing about God is you like, I want this. And he like, well, since you want this and I'm not ready for you to have that, I'm going to give it to you in a way that is not in alignment with you. So you're not going to even be able to move forward with that. And it's like, dang, like you said, I get these men, but nah, it's not right.
It's not right.
Then, hurt happens, right? And so I hope, things are like just coming forward in your future and changing in that way. Cause I understand that path of just being like, you know what? I give up. Let me do what you told me to do. And then hopefully.
Surrender to me is different than giving up, right? Surrender is like, I still have hope for this thing. I just not yet. You get what I'm saying? Like it's a surrendering to not yet. So I wouldn't say like I give up, but surrendering to not yet. And you said something really, really good that stuck out to me. You was like, sometimes we are in situations where we're stuck. And I sometimes think that we are stuck because we think that, we have to change the environment, the people, and sometimes we do. More than anything, we forget that we got to change ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people get stuck, because going to the next level or the thing you desire requires you to be uncomfortable. Like it requires you to face where you are, who you are, and what you got to change to be able to sustain the thing that you're asking for. And sometimes we're just not ready to make that change. So we keep circling around the same situations because we think it's the situations and not us. Right. And so we stay in it until we realize it ain't that I just got to change my people too. Like I change me.
Yeah.
And that's where people don't always want to face.
Yeah, you're so right. Change is like such a interesting topic for some people. And it's like the idea that I'm going to resist change is so like skewed to me, because it's like change is too inevitable. Like you can't avoid change.
No.
So like to your point, like we get caught in this familiar, like, okay, well this is familiar, so I stand it. But a lot of times that, like, you know how you said going into change, people are like, well, I don't want to be uncomfortable, so let's stay here because this is comfortable. It's not comfortable though. It's almost like this is my little example, but I used to always tell people, like, if you want to be a neuroscientist, right, you got to go to school for about 10 years, right? Like you got a lot of stuff to do. And people usually are like, man, that's too hard, or that's too many years of school or whatever, right? Instead of going on a different path. I'm always like, you think life gonna get easier because you went on that different path and you did what you thought was the easier route? Like you think life gonna not life you over there? Just because this is harder, there's a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow that you're trying to. And yes, do the work. Take the time, because there is something that's going to be so meaningful and it's going to change your life so radically that it's worth it. It's worth the the suffering, the long nights, all of that kind of thing, because this path is not guaranteed to be some good path. You're going to have roadblocks, setbacks, detours, all of that stuff over there too. Yep. You're absolutely right. And I love that. Like not necessarily wanting to give up, but more so wanting to like have hope and faith and saying like, this is going to happen. I just got to be patient and with God and know, like, how to recognize when my time is right, because your time is coming. I always think that everybody, like, your time is coming. It's in your timing, right? Like, God's going to have to be set up for where, what you want in your timing. So really, really amazing messages around that. How can you tell? What are some signs that you see that come up that show that we might be out of sync with the natural flows of our lives, and how can we recalibrate?
Yeah, so I would say some telltale signs for when you are out of sync. I think one, inherently, you out of sync. Okay, let's be clear. Let's call it what it is. Y'all don't want to say it, but when you doing the right thing, you kind of in the back of your mind. It's it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like let's call it. And I don't think people believe. It's just like people who marry the wrong people. At some point before they got to their altar, something went in their head and said, "Should I do this?"
You are so right.
They all dismissed it. Okay, as a counselor, every last one of them dismissed it. Okay, so there's always this inkling in the back of your head that's like, girl, I probably should be doing it. Now, does it feel good while you're doing it? Yeah. Feels great while you're doing something you know you got a business doing. But the consequences ain't never good, right? And who is this? I think it was Miles Monroe. Again, I'm always referencing these people that I stole their stuff from.
Yeah.
But how he explained it was this. It was mind blowing. It's a book that he wrote, and I think it is so great. And I don't know the name of it right now, but I figured it out and tell Bianca so she can drop it below.
Okay.
But he talks about in his book, and I can only talk about dating and relationships because that's the part of my life that we still working on and praying about. But anyway, so he talks about in his book how, like, ultimately you're going to end up where you're supposed to be. Even when you make bad decisions, right? Like, even when you make decisions that are not that great for your life, you are ultimately going to be rerouted to where you're supposed to go. God's got your story is already written. So let's be very clear that even if you're out of season, God can still make it in season because it's still going to work for your good. Either you're going to learn something and bump your head, get back on and keep going, or you're just going to keep going, right? So either way you go, you're going to end up at your destination because that's already written for you and you just learn from everything you go to. But what he said was, like, just think about it as like you're walking along this path and like you see, kind of like Bianca said, like the goal is at the end of the tunnel. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. And then you see something in the alleyway that's like shiny. It ain't gold, but it's like, aluminum foil. But it's still shining if the light hit it, right? Still shine. It's still gonna bling a little bit. But it's aluminum foil. It ain't the gold at the end. But it's aluminum foil. And you go, oh, that's pretty, because you see the light hit it. And then you get off of your path and you go in this alley and fool around with this aluminum foil. Whatever that aluminum foil is. The aluminum foil ain't got to be no man. It could be a job that wasn't right. It could be whatever your distraction is that you're not supposed to be doing. You're going to get off there. You're going to go to the aluminum foil. You're going to play with this aluminum foil. Probably going to end up getting banged up a little bit, set back a little bit because you had an option to keep going or go play with this aluminum foil.
Yeah.
And then once you're done and you banged up and you limp and you get right back on the path and you keep going. But that is kind of what happens. We see stuff in the alleyways as we're on our path. And then that's when we get off of our path. We're going to have a little fun, be banged up, be hurt. But then we eventually wander back to it and keep going. So the signs is it's really in the back of your head. If you know that's the route that you're not supposed to be going, you're going to know that. It's just a matter of you paying attention to that. You're paying attention to that. I can't say that you're on the wrong path when stuff go wrong, but it's not necessarily true. Sometimes we have to face obstacles to build our skill set, to build our resiliency. So it doesn't always mean that when things are going wrong, you're on the wrong path. But you're on the wrong path when you think you're on the wrong path. I'm just going to be real with you. When you think that I'm not right, because this thing it consistently do not feel right, you're not where you're supposed to be. I don't know who this for, but you know where you're supposed to be. So get back over.
The voice inside of you, it's like, why are you doing this again?
Why are you doing that?
I love that. You that's actually really helpful to hear and encourage people to like listen to that and honor that, because it speaks to a couple of things that, first of all, I've never read this book that you said, but I use a very similar example when I talk about moving forward and healing, and how sometimes you can get off track and sometimes people are not on the journey you're on, and you'll be trying to help them and you're actually slowing yourself down, not because you don't want to help them, but sometimes people are not like willing to go on the path with you, and you just have to keep going. And to your point, sometimes people see stuff that they think is good or a shortcut or that magical like little piece of something for them, and they like, I want that. And it's always, I tell people, I'm like, if you see a long route and you see a short route, the short route or like it look like it's like something right there, I was like, it's always a dead end road, because if you could see it right there, most likely everybody else could see it right there. And to like with your example with the going in the alley, once you go in there, it's not guaranteed you just don't walk right back out.
Sure,
You're gonna have like kind of this setback, and like you're gonna bump your head, all of that kind of stuff, fall down, but you can get back up. And I think there's so much power in that message, because sometimes people get so down on themselves because of mistakes or because of things not working out. And life is literally designed for you to kind of experiment, explore, and not have all of the answers. And sometimes it's going to come with mistakes. Obviously, we want you to make safer mistakes if you can. But it's okay. Like, that's going to make those winning moments, those great moments, those success moments, all of the things that you're actually wanting, that's going to make those so much more powerful, because you actually know what it was like to be in that hard or to have that setback in life. So I love that. I think it's very encouraging to know that, like, you know what, even if you feel, you recognize your heart right now, you on the wrong path, just know that you can get back on the right path. So if you feel like you're on the wrong path, get back on the right path, because you already know it's inside of you. It's telling you something is like a warning sign. Don't ignore those internal red flags. It's saying, no, this ain't for you. You're supposed to be somewhere else, So, but yeah, you're right. We just got to go through that sometime. And everybody has their own alley with the with the
aluminum foil. And I will be the first one to say, y'all, the aluminum foil be fun. I'm not gonna ever lie to you. I mean, it ain't fun when you get to the consequences, okay?
Right.
That's not fun. But the like playing with the shiny piece of, whatever, it's fun. Like, I will not lie. My friends will tell you, I've been bumped my head so much because I do it for the plot. Okay, I'm gonna do it because this is intrigue, and I know this is for the hit a dead end rob. You know what I mean? Because that's fun. So, it's don't be like me. Don't do it for the plot. I mean, it's interesting, but don't do it for the plot. But yeah, so I won't deny that, like, sometimes the alleyways is fun, or the alleyways seem like it's less work than the path in front of you. Because sometimes the path in front of you, like, okay, being on the right track takes discipline. And sometimes the alleyways, you ain't got to worry about all that. You know what I'm saying? So whatever that is for you, I'm just saying, like, that doesn't mean that this alleyway doesn't look fun. It doesn't mean that the alleyway ain't fun. It doesn't mean that the alleyway ain't easier. Sometimes it is. But that doesn't mean that that's still where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, for sure. I know what else I was going to say. It made me think about values, because I feel like when you are very clear on what your core values are, and I mean like top 5, top 3, top 5 values, it's very helpful, because it helps you kind of stay anchored to why you're here, what you're doing, all of those kind of things. Like, I'm just saying just words because they sound good, but like things that are meaningful to you based on your experiences, based on what you feel just near and dear to your heart, you want out of life. And so understanding why, and sometimes we got to go back to that, because it's easy to see something and then be like, oh, that look good, or hear somebody say something and, oh, that sounds good, and then we are completely out of sync of our own values. We're respecting our own values for something else, and usually that's when that voice is coming in like, this is a conflict. This is not right. You feel it. Like I say, I say the same thing with boundaries. I'm like, you feel boundaries before you feel the need for boundaries before, you know what I mean? You understand what it needs to be. You just know something ain't right. You know you don't like something. So, like, recognize that with that path in life. To your point, like, there's a path for each of us. We have our own things that's going to come up in our own timing. Stay healthy, stay on track, stay motivated. Yes, we're going to have those moments, but just get back on there and thank God that, you were able to get back on that path, because you know that some people get off path and they never get back on it, or it takes so much longer. And so get back on, that's amazing. But like a lot of what we've been talking about today has been like related to God, has been in spirituality, has been related to faith and hope, which to me kind of resembles trust, right? Like a lot of like just kind of going with the ebbs and flows of life is a trust journey. And so how can someone learn to trust that things will happen in their own time, especially when life feels so uncertain?
I always say go back for your receipts. go get your receipts and go look in your file cabinet. Yeah, I would say go look at your receipts in file cabinets. And what I mean about that is I want you to go back and think about literally all the things that you thought wasn't going to work out for you, they did. I mean, the times where you thought that thing, you stressed about it, you worried about it, but you got through it. That you was at a place where you was like, I should have went this way. And I thought you was questioning the route that you was going. And then it turned out to work out for you even better. I need you to go look at those receipts, because sometimes when we go back and look at the receipts and the things, I remember like I didn't get a job. Yeah, I'm still kind of working in the context. Say a little bit.
Pause.
To be very careful.
Moment of silence.
But I didn't get a job, and the way I didn't get the job was very unfair. Like, it was very unfair. It was very unfair. I remember putting in my resume for the job.
You just gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it.
I will talk about it.
I ended up putting a resignation in for their job because, one, it was unfair, but the other part of it was I was trusting that God was going to do something bigger, and that bigger hadn't arrived yet. And I said, well, I'm gonna do this because this is what I'm supposed to do. And I put in that resignation for their job and had not even heard from the other job that was the bigger. Anyway, everything ended up working out. I ended up getting a job. The job was mine. It was already mine before I thought it was mine. And everything ended up working out for me. And that it had been a consistent reminder for me throughout my life, is that, like, sometimes when things happen to you, or, you know, when you don't have that faith that things are going to work out for you, and it does, that is a consistent reminder that why would God be good then and not good now? Like, why all of a sudden would he do something different in your life that he hasn't already done? I don't believe that anybody that's watching Bianca's podcast that's on wellness and health and how to be a better person don't value growth, because you wouldn't watch something like this if you didn't value growth. So that means that if you value growth, you have the insight enough to go and look back at your life to see how far you have already came. So why would you just stop going far down? It don't, the math ain't mathing. So we start to think about trust. Trust is trusting that the God that has sustained you before will sustain you afterwards. And even in the moment that it does not feel good, because this don't ever feel good. I'm just going to be real with y'all. Trusting is hard and it does not feel good. But you have to remind yourself, just because it doesn't feel good doesn't mean that it's not for my good. And I don't know what that looks like right now. But I do know if God is moving me this way, pausing something, stopping something, flowing this way, it is things that I do not know. Yeah. Literally, we can speak of something relevant of like this plane crash that just happened that was so unfortunate. And one of the people that was supposed to be on the plane said, I missed my plane because I was fooling with my dog. And I was pissed.
Yeah. So that missed that plane thing, that's a great...
Missed the plane. And was upset that they missed the plane. But now in tears because God foresaw what he didn't foresee. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we have to be patient and know that if I'm arriving to this quote unquote late, because a lot of us think that we're arriving at stuff late. You're not arriving to anything late. You're arriving there when you're supposed to be there. Yeah. So there's no such thing as late. I should have been early. There's no such thing, because your life is yours and your path is yours. And it doesn't matter how other people's path look. You're not on their path. The things that they're here to accomplish is not yours. You are on your path. So be kind to yourself in this process. Trust God, and then trust yourself that I'm going to do the best I can do in this time. And if this decision that I make is not a good one, I have the right to make another decision that may be a better one. Yeah. So trusting yourself, having grace with yourself in your process, and also trusting God based on the things that he's already done for you. So I'll say that's how you can build trust in yourself and God.
That was amazing. I love the message in that. Looking back at your receipts, you're such a millennial.
Check the receipt.
Because, you're right. If you just take a moment to look back, and I feel like what I notice is people who have a baseline of faith in some way, or, I mean, it doesn't have to be religion. So if you're listening, like, well, what do I do if it's not God? You're still spiritual. We all have a spirit. So you're still going to get messages, and, you know, you still have a purpose, all these different things. And so sometimes, you know, I forget what I was about to say, but
I'll find it.
No, I'll find it. But no, but really overall, what I want to get back to is how you were referencing how sometimes people are in this place where they're like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And I think that, so I'm about to bring it back. The spiritual piece, like we're always growing, we're always working on ourselves. And if you have that foundation of understanding that and understanding that like things have happened before now, then you can always look back. There's kind of like a reference point for you. I do think some people struggle with that because they take life so as it comes. They like, even though everything worked out last year, they probably this year having a hard time and they feel like this, like their life is so messed up. And it's like, you have to remind them like, look at last year, look at how many things worked out. But in this, season of growth, this, life we're in, growth is constant. It's inevitable. And so when you said it's uncomfortable, when you're in these times where you're like, I really wanted that and it didn't work out, and it's hard, like it is, because it's challenging you. It's challenging you to grow. It's challenging you to be better. It's challenging your resilience. Yeah, you can't always just like crash out in a destructive way, right? Like sometimes we have our like crash out moments, but they behind the scenes. But you can't crash out in a destructive way because something didn't work out. You have to, I know what I learned how to do is ask for understanding. I asked for clarity, and I just God to reveal it. And He always does. Like it might take a few weeks or a few months. It might take a few days or a few hours. But when I don't understand something, when I feel like, dang, why did this happen? I ask for peace, clarity, and understanding, because I know that there's something I don't understand about this situation. There's nothing I can do to make this different. This is, to your point, God has a whole different path for us. And so sometimes what He removing us from is actually setting us up for something better. But when you had that moment, you have to remind yourself that there has been other times when God like was able to move you into something and you didn't see it at first, so it's okay to look back and say, like, in this moment, this ain't working out. Has there been the other time when it did work out? Receipts.
Yeah.
It's also okay to say, I'm having a really hard time with this moment and this is challenging me. I really got to go pray. I really got to go process this. I really got to go talk to somebody, because to your point, when you work hard and you get passed over in an unfair way, it does sit with you and you're just like, what? How did that decision get made like that? And you don't want to get caught up in trying to, fix a system that was not even meant for you to be in the first place. Because if it was meant for you to be in the first place, you would be there. And I love your example with like the other job it was almost like it was waiting for me. We've had some really amazing situations to where things just worked out, and there's no other explanation. And God must
no other explanation. And I would also say sometimes these setbacks that people think that's happening is really, you said it, like a setup. You know what I'm saying? A setup to like slingshot yourself in a way that you could have never put together yourself. Like some of the stuff that happened in my life, career, dating, all types, in every area, has always been like the setback was a slingshot.
Yes.
And it was like slingshot means somewhere that like if I would have designed this, I would have never imagined pieces being there. Like I would have never. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, how the hell that working good for me? When did this happen? Like when did this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just would have never like put those things together of like who I wanted to, what I thought for myself and what I actually end up being, or where I actually end up working, or like, how I ended up existing. And it's just like, well, when I did a little bit better, you know what I'm saying? That ain't saying everything's perfect, but it's saying that like the plan that I had, this one feels a little bit better. Like I like this. Like there are things that I don't like, but I like this. This feels true to who I am. And if I would have wrote it, I wouldn't have wrote it this way. I would have wrote it enough way. Yeah. And I don't even know if that other way would have been fulfilling. I'd have been somebody's wife and stuff. And then this hustle was like, I had to come to the conclusion that before I turned into somebody's wife, I wanted to prove I could be who I wanted to be first.
Yes.
But that took a long time to come to that conclusion of like, I wanted to be who I was. And it's okay for me to say like, I wanted to be my own dream woman before I was somebody else's dream woman. And I never wanted my kids to be like, this just my daddy's wife. Like, no, I want my kids to be like, my mama do this and this, and she that girl. She stay at home now, but she that girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted them to be able to say that about their mom as well as their dad. So I knew that is what I'm asking God for. There is going to be some times in my path where this doesn't work out for me, or that person doesn't show up right now, because then it'll take me from what I even asked them for. So sometimes we don't even realize that what we asked him for is not compatible with what we think should be happening right now. Don't know. But that's you digging into yourself and like really being real with yourself and discovering this insight about where you actually are in this season. So yeah.
I love that you went to the other side of that because, we didn't talk about that part yet. That other side of what I want may not be ready for me, right? I used to think about college and when I was in school at Tennessee State University.
Not you had to throw out the Tennessee State.
I used to, man, this is a topic right now. It took a minute to graduate because I kept changing my major. And I was like, man, I wish I just knew. Like, there was stuff I absolutely liked. And I was like, I want to do something in this way. But it was like, I had been in band and since elementary school, actually. And so I thought I wanted to be a band teacher because it just was the natural path for everybody who was in band who really liked it. And I really liked it. But I knew I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life like that. I was like, I want to be connected to music, but I don't want to, be a band director. But it took me like 3 years to just finally, or 2.5 years. Y'all, I'm not about to tell y'all how many years I was in college, but it took me a minute to finally just say, no, it's not for me. Long story short, that I watched so many people go to school and then within a few years into their career, they're not happy and they like, I need to change careers or I don't want to work this job. And I didn't want that to happen, right? So, and I just was always kind of like, what is for me? It didn't come to me till actually after my mom passed. And that's when psychology actually became like, this is it. But the same thing with like relationships and marriage. It's so many people that just want to be in a relationship, just want to be married, just want to be, in a family that are, not compatible with the people they're with. And there's no shades of families. I want your family to win. But sometimes we're forced to something so much that like, we end up in these paths that are not going to last for us because it wasn't ever meant for us. This never supposed to be like, your person type thing. I just really want this, right? And so I think that there is a benefit in waiting and being patient and knowing that, God is preparing that person for me. God is preparing that career for me because when I meet that person, this is going to be like, it's going to be so aligned. It's going to be so connected. God like just literally came like down and created this person just for me. And that's going to be an amazing feeling. Everybody don't have that. The same, like I was so happy when I landed in the career and I could look up, all of these years later and say, oh, I'm still here, like still care about this. This is the stuff I love to do. And, knowing that that's a tricky journey. I'm like, if you knew what you wanted to do since before you was in college, I think that's amazing because I didn't. Yeah. And I, commend you on that because that's never been my path. I came into that, went through college, it was just like, I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life. But there are some people that do, it's so many people that don't. Who we gonna grow into, we don't know how we gonna evolve. And so thinking of who we gonna be with forever. Is this person gonna be a good person for as a husband or as a father? All these things that I want in a partner. Like, sometimes we don't know ourselves enough to know, like, we gonna be a match for that person, and they may not know themselves. So sometimes I do feel like there's a benefit in waiting, especially when you like, I'm waiting for the right thing, and I'm waiting for God to bring that to me because to your point, you're ambitious. If you wanted to have a man, you would have a man. Like, it is what it is. You're just like, I'm just not going to compromise who I am, my goals, my values, just to say I got a man or just to say I got a husband or this, that, and the other. And so I think that's a win. I commend you for that. I think that takes so much strength. That's so powerful that you can see her saying, like, I want this, but this is why this hasn't happened for me yet. But I'm also trusting the process because I don't have control over how this is going to reveal itself to me. I think happen.
There's also a process of growth, and I want to say that because that sounds really good, but that has not always. And I'm just gonna keep it real.
Don't give me that much credit.
I've always been like, I value the girl. No, I have not always been like my values and beliefs. I had one big value that I held in dating, and I still hold.
Which one?
I am not gonna lose my mind, my money, or the things that I'm working for fooling with you. This was down the values. I ain't gonna take no losses. That's just what it is. I'm not gonna take. If you cost too much in me getting off the path for what I know I'm designed to do in life, I'm not gonna fool with you. Now, that don't mean that they've been some good ones. And there has been some good ones. But that was too big of a loss for me. I've seen women go under. I mean, like, go under because of a man. And that wasn't happening for me. You could get something else. You could rob me. You could do whatever before I take some L's. Yeah, that was the line for me of like, I'm not going to take no L's. I'm not going to take no L's in the sense of lose everything that I worked for, who I stand for, to be connected to you. If it gets to that point, you won't have me. So that was it. But the other things and beliefs, I don't necessarily know, because I just told y'all earlier I used to do it for the plot. And maybe still do a little bit. Don't judge me. I'm just being real. But I will say this. That has been a learning experience for me, because maybe like 2 years ago that I picked up in my own therapy experience around that. Again, for reference, if you just jumping in, we ain't that good at dating, but we're great at career. I'm good at dating. I'm getting better, but that's the struggle. So anyway, I came to this conclusion that was mind-blowing. And it was a conclusion that I don't know if I'm wanting to accept until I accepted it. And that was, number one, that I was dating emotionally unavailable men because I was emotionally unavailable. And I was unavailable in general. And I didn't know that. I thought I was like open for relationships and stuff. And I was like, girl, no. You work 17 jobs. You pass out and go to sleep and eat peanuts or something. Who is available for a man? Because if you had to live in the same city with this man or take this job opportunity, you would take this job opportunity. You're not going to stay there for no man. So I had to come to a realization that while I wanted to be in a relationship, I could not be in a relationship with an available man because I was an unavailable woman. So I was dating the man that I was.
Yeah.
And so it was like when I figured that out, I was like, duh, you gonna date this dude who don't want a relationship, girl, because you really don't want one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And this was like the hard realization that I was talking about. Another realization that came that was too much of my business, but I don't care because I'm off book. But I realized that I like dating multiple people. So I wasn't a girl who like just liked to be in something forever at that point. Like, no, I liked to go to the movies with Jim and go watch Netflix at home and eat peanuts with Bob. And then go mess with Corey down the street. Right? And I was sleeping with them all. But I am saying that I enjoyed the variety of meeting and learning and experiencing different people. So like that was a hard conclusion to come to, because most women are not like that. Most women are like, I want my favorite person. And I was like, I got like 3 favorite people.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I pick the one would be the one. But, so I come into the realization about myself of like, again, this thing that I'm like begging God for, that I want. Girl, do you really want it? Right now, anyway. So really coming to that conclusion that most of the seasons of my life, I have not wanted to be that serious with anybody. I thought I did, but I kind of did.
Right.
So really working with my therapist to come to that conclusion that, girl, it's okay to say you want to date multiple people right now. It's okay to say that you are an unavailable woman right now, but make sure that whoever you're dating, you're letting them know that. But it's okay to like be that way. Like there's nothing wrong if that this is where you are in your life right now.
Yeah.
And when I accepted that that's where I was, I told the men about the men.
Yeah.
Hey, I date other people. If you don't like it, I ain't her.
Right.
And most of them was like, all right, cool, whatever. They ain't me, I was like, great. But like, so just accepting that course didn't look like traditional women, and there was not a lot of spaces where women felt comfortable saying that they like dating multiple people. And just so coming to all these real hard conclusions. Now I'm not like it. I still like dating multiple people, but dating till I find the person I want to be with forever. So I'm more available now because I'm closer to being done with this PhD than I was prior.
Yeah.
But again, that was a season switch, right? It was a season switch of like, I want to finish out the rest of my degree with a person that's solid that I could do the rest of my life with and potentially have a kid with. That is new, right? But before I was saying that's what I wanted, but I wasn't in the season where I was actually matching what I wanted, if that makes sense.
Yes. So great. Oh my gosh. You talked about like attracting the kind of person you are. Like you're like, I'm attracting people that's not available. I'm not available. Be aware of that, y'all. Like when you find yourself connecting with people that's a certain type over and over again, that's an extension or reflection of you. And it doesn't have to be like a terrible thing. It's just an awareness thing. And I love honesty and accountability, because when we reflect, we kind of we can feel that pie in a sense. Like all of the pieces of who we are we can feel that pie and say, you know what, this is a part of me too. And this is a conflict to this goal I have, but, you know, I need to embrace this so that, you know, as I work through this or as I get to where I want to get to in that place, I'm not, you know, trying to push that into the shadows. I'm really just like, hey, you know, this is me open book in this way. I just love so much about what you just did there because you were hinting at that earlier. And I had no idea you were going to say this. Like, we did not talk about this in advance, y'all, but you were hinting at earlier, you know, you was like, there's stuff you already know about yourself. There's things that you want to just kind of be honest with yourself about. And then like, you're kind of like, you know, there was this moment where I just really had to do that. It was helpful. It was a growth journey for me to realize, you know, one of the things I'm asking for is kind of not matching who I am right now. And it's not that you're a bad person, you were doing anything wrong. Had nothing to do with that. It's just, I want something that doesn't represent who I am. And God is good at being like, you know what, I'm going to hold that door for you until you know, you are. And I want you to go through that door, but it's just, I want you to be the person who you need to be to go through that door. So,
and be ready for that door. And that's so rich, man. Like, be ready for that door in the sense of like, so it's so much to learn about that. Me saying like I liked, and I'm trying to like not take up all her time because I can keep going. I can talk for hours, y'all. That's all I like to talk.
I've been looking forward to this talk.
It's so much like richness in there, right? So like me coming to this conclusion that one, I was unavailable. Two, that I like to date multiple people. Let me know that the people that I was dating didn't have everything that I wanted, and not that somebody's going to be perfect that I wanted. The thing that I was really looking for was I need to have someone that I can enjoy and have excitement with, and that's also consistent. But what was happening was all of these dudes wasn't very exciting. There was just pieces of them that were like attractive to me, but it wasn't like all of the things that was attractive to me, right? And again, not saying that everybody has to come with this rap sheet of things, but it just let me know, like, hey, is it that really that you enjoy multiple people? Or is it that you just haven't found your person that, like, feels you in a way that, like, you don't have to go search for all these different things amongst multiple people?
Because they probably had different qualities that you
had
like.
different qualities that I like. So it was like, are you that or are you this? And so what Bianca is saying and what I'm saying to me comes to a space of that, like, when you open yourself up to be insightful about your experience and yourself without judging, because I didn't judge myself in that moment. It was like, well, girl, if you like tequila, wine, and beer, you just like them all. You know, they're different liqueurs. Like, they're not the same. So if you like them all, that's fine. So it wasn't me judging myself that I liked them all. It was more of accepting myself. Because once I was able to accept that I liked them all, then I was able to ask myself questions of why I liked them all. So if you don't accept yourself for where you appear to be, then you don't give yourself room to ask your questions about why you're in that space. Which helps you continue to evolve. So again, realizing that, no, I like different things about them. Really? And then when I met a man where I was like, he had most of those things, I cut the whole roster off. So I chopped down all of these people for this one person because I was like, oh, this one person has these things. So, you know what I'm saying? This one person takes over the cake. I don't have to do that because I like this one person. So realistically, it's an ever growing, evolving process. And that's why I said be kind to yourself because look at yourself as a science project. I am consistently learning about myself every day. Every day.
And it don't end.
It don't end, but I love it because that's how you evolve as a person. You begin to understand yourself. You begin to understand more of what you need and who you need, and you know, and things get better. So I don't really, you know, whenever knucklehead, if he acts right now or if he appears out of thin air, comes, then I deal with that when he comes. But right now, you know, I'm not speeding up myself because that's not what I'm experiencing right now. That makes sense.
Last question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to someone struggling to let go and embrace the life as it unfolds for them?
My advice would be the last thing I just said. Number one is to be kind to yourself in your process of growth. Oftentimes people are really mean to themselves. We are both counselors and we see it day in and day out, man. Y'all are y'all worst critics. Jesus, be kind to yourself. Like, be nice to yourself because why would you be mean to yourself when the whole world is already mean?
Yeah.
And it's easier to navigate difficult situations if you have grace for yourself. I'm just going to tell you, when situations happen and you don't make the decision that you think is the best decision and you have grace for yourself, then you open up yourself to be able to have a conversation with yourself of like, what happened that led us to that decision. But if you like are so mad at yourself for making this decision, sometimes it's hard to have questioning about it because you're just really trying to run from yourself and the decision that you made.
Yes.
So if you have grace, then you're more likely to ask yourself questions to learn about the decision so you don't make it again. You know what I mean? So I would say that the other part of it is really just where you are now is not where you will always be.
That's a good point.
And what it looks like now, it will not always look like that.
Yeah.
We know that because of science. They don't even have to be spirituality.
That's so
It
true.
changes from day to night. It rains, it snows, the moon comes up, the sun comes out. Like, you know, literally from day to day that things have to change. Seasons change.
Mhm.
You know, it's about to be spring, we're in winter, it's in towards the tail end, it's crawfish season. Shout out to crawfish. But yeah, like seasons have to change. Things have to change. Your life is no exception.
Yep.
And it's going to change whether you want it to or not.
Whether you want it
That's
or
what I
not.
really want to say. Whether you want to change or not, your life is going to change. So you might as well get on the same track as change.
Yeah. At least, hopefully get something out of it. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a
And
great
experience, man. Experience. Like,
Yes.
don't just let it exist. Like, experience it. Oh, this is happening? What is this about? Yeah, I thought I tell myself all the time, I thought I overcame this. I guess not. Oh, why you here again? Let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I talk to myself like I'm my own therapist. I'm always asking, like, girl, what is this about? All right. What are you trying to teach me? What do I need to learn? What do I need to accept here? How do I need to approach this differently than I approached it last time?
Yeah.
So really just embrace the change because it's going to happen anyway.
Embrace the change, yeah, and know that, there's something in your path that's for you. If you don't embrace the change, life gonna make you anyway.
Gonna make you anyway, girl. Might as well do it.
One thing you said, I just wanted to echo about that. Be kind to yourself, because when, you make a decision you don't like, you were saying something about that. I think that when you struggle with being kind to yourself, you don't trust yourself and you hold yourself back from moving forward because you're like, well, I don't want to make that mistake. I don't want to make another mistake. I feel like I'm going to mess this up in some way. And again, you're supposed to mess up. That's what life is. The risk the rewards come from the risk. The growth comes from the setbacks. And so, like, just go for it. If it's on your heart and on your mind, it's there for a reason. That was given just to you. It's okay to just, step forward. You can be thoughtful in how you step forward, but step forward. Like, I'm going to stay here forever, because sometimes we have things that's in our path, right? On that road, in that tunnel. And we just have to keep moving forward so we can see it, so we can grab it, so we can, we can benefit from it. So the world can see our gifts and what, we bring. And so, yeah, I love that. Be kind to yourself.
And I want to say, too, the last thing I promise, and I'm going to be quiet, but the last thing about trusting yourself, though, because Bianca's right. She said, like, a lot of this is because you don't trust yourself. And a lot of y'all are probably like, well, girl, how do I trust myself? Like, how do I begin that journey? And I always tell people, think about the person you trust the most in your life. All right. Now I want you to think about the characteristics. Why do you trust them? Now do those things for yourself.
I love that.
That's it. That's the only person you trust the most. Why do you trust them? What do they do to make you trust them? And then you do those things for yourself.
Okay, I got a question on that, because I feel like sometimes people, they create like a romanticized version of a person. So it might be like somebody they never met, but they just like, I just really like Martin Luther King, for example. Do you recommend people choose just anybody that, or do you recommend people look at people they know?
Look at people you know, because I mean, like, when you look at somebody you don't know, then you're idolizing them because you don't know them, right? You don't know if they're a trusting person. They could look trusting, but you don't know because they haven't proven anything to you that they're trustworthy. So I wouldn't say pick somebody you idolize. I would say pick somebody out of your life that you've experienced in your life. I don't care what time point. If you don't have a trusting person now, think about a person that you trusted at some point that didn't break your trust, but somebody that you trusted at some point. And what did you trust about them? Like, what made you trust them? What made you let go? Even if they broke the trust later, right? Because people are people. But like in the beginning, what did they do? You're right. So you're not necessarily looking to be mad at people again or idolize people. You're just saying, I just need to know the characteristics of why I decided that I could trust that person. What did that person do to make me feel comfortable enough to think that they were trustworthy. Write those characteristics down and start doing it for yourself.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I agree. I think that is really good because when you pick somebody you know, then you can see those characteristics of why you trust them, why they mean so much. But you also can see their flaws. Sometimes if you know them, you kind of know like, oh, there's something about them that, maybe it's not a great quality, but I feel like that gives a range to you being able to accept a person who is not perfect, but is a great person to you, or has been a great person to you, which you can like adopt to yourself. Like, I like, cause sometimes when we're not kind, we see our flaws clear as day. We like, man, you this, that, and the other. But like that person you trust also has that. They're not perfect. They're arranged. They have good, bad, like pretty, ugly, all of that. And I love to like do that, like if you like that they're consistent or you like that they are kind or whatever, right? Do that because that's something that's already speaking to you. So you have that in you anyway because you're attracted to that. So just do it.
Just do it. That's been the thing that's getting me through the gym. I've been going to the gym like at least 5 days a week. Man, I be trying, but what's getting me through it is that like thinking about, like I think about a person in my life that showed up for me. And I'm like, I love that person showed up for me when I needed them. And I adapt that to myself and going to the gym. What's showing up for me in my body? Going to move it. So like, did you show up for yourself today? No, well, I need you to do it. Go do it. That's showing up for yourself. So I take that and go like, I don't feel like going, but like, how am I going to show up for me today? So I need to figure out a way to do that. So yeah, like you can take it and move it in anything. I know we talked a lot about dating and career and stuff, but you can move that in anything. My physical health is a lot of me taking characteristics from other people, discipline from other people, and like, what are they doing to stay disciplined? Oh, they're doing these things. Okay, let me integrate that into my life because I ain't got that in the working out area. I'm trying, but so like you can take this for anything. I know we talked about those things specifically, but you can use that. Look at someone you value, you trust, you love. What characteristics about them do you love? Do it.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. I love like that. Even though I have a lot of conversations with different guests, that every conversation is so unique. Like the stuff that we talked about today has never been talked about in any of the other episodes. And even some of the things, the lessons, because there's some episodes I can like literally say, oh, I said this, it's always something that resonates with me that crosses over in several episodes. It's stuff that came out of this episode that has never come up in other episodes. And so I really, really appreciate you sharing this, kind of taking us down this topic lane and helping expand our insights and awareness on some things. Look within all of the things. Just, take life as it is and be okay with like understanding that you're going to land where you're meant to land. And it's okay if you don't do it right the first time. I love that. And I thank you so much, Krystal, for joining me today. Would you like to share briefly where people can find you if they want to just see more of what you're doing? Or
yeah, for sure. So yeah, Bianca is going to put this in the like her little thing so you guys can look at it, because literally all of my socials though are at Krysy, Krys. I think Krysy at Krys. She's gonna drop it because I had to like spell it out differently because other people had the name. So it's one of those weird like usernames because other people got the name you really want. It's one of those. So she's gonna drop it in the chat, and I'm gonna tell you, if you follow me on TikTok, you might get a little of this, and you might get a little bit of everything. So beware. If you follow me on YouTube, it's a little bit more polished. Don't follow me on Instagram or Facebook because both of them are boring. So the TikTok, you get a little bit more excitement, boom. If you follow me on YouTube, you can get a little bit more long form kind of content like this that is more guided with like wisdom and stuff. And we're going to do a lot more type of work like that on that YouTube platform. I think the next one I'm going to bring my mama in because I talked about her so much. And I really say that, y'all, not because I just idolize my mama. I mean, that's my girl. But the other part of it is she's just so wise. And, it's African American. It's our month, Black History Month.
It's Black History Month.
Say, I am who I am because of who she is and because of who my ancestors are. So she is a well of knowledge. I probably wouldn't have a job, if she were my mama. So yeah, it'd probably be an episode with her on there where we just talk about various things to give y'all what I got for the creative part of my life. So yeah, but thank you for having me here. This has been awesome. My favorite thing to do is talk, if you haven't learned that. So thank you for letting me be here, and share my words, and I hope they touch people.
Yes.
Even if touch one person, I'm cool with that. But I hope it makes your life better, and I hope you listen to it and really internalize it, because I think both of us really mean what we say. We really love people, we really value people, and we really are for the growth of people. So, yeah, I hope you use this to water yourself. But
Yes.
thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Guys, again, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Share your feedback as well. Check out other episodes. Go ahead and subscribe to her as well. I'm going to drop that name on the screen. So if you haven't already seen it, you should be able to see it again. Thank you again for joining us, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye.